Order. Call the meeting to order at 7:35. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance. Adequate notice of this meeting on September 15th, 2022. That's been provided in accordance with Section 3D of Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Sunshine Law. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you tell me how to mute this? See how these people have it muted?
Oh, Troy, is that you speaking? There should be a little icon with a microphone in the bottom left side of your screen. If you click that, that will mute you. Looks like you're muted now. Good. Okay.
I am muted. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Muir,
Here.
Nelson, here, Key,
Yes,
Lindsay,
Here.
Randolph,
Here.
Ogrodnik,
Here.
Decker,
Here.
and Ms. Mooney.
And is excused. A motion open for public comment.
Make a motion open public comment.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
In the room or online? If none, have a motion to close.
Make the motion close.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
A motion to adopt regular and executive session minutes of September 1st, 2022.
Make the motion to adopt those minutes. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
aye,
A motion to adopt resolution 2022-73, authorizing sale to Liberty Township of a used 1998 Ford truck number 72. It's one of our largest dump trucks.
Make the motion to adopt that resolution.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Point where they sold the truck for about what we bought it for, minus any repairs over the life of it, but it was a good time to sell. We have two more pieces of larger equipment and other smallers that will be going up online or what. People know we'll put the auction up. I'll have it on the website. We'll share. Resolution 2022-74, authorizing award to MCCPC, that's the Morris County co-op that we purchased through for Person Road Improvement Project.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
This is money. Paul.
aye,
We're not purchasing, it's just identifying
Okay.
the suppliers for the project.
Okay. Aye.
I
Aye.
aye,
did clarify check with Mr. Decker and Carl today about clarifying. The motion to adopt resolution 2022-75, amendments to the Township Personnel Policies Manual. So there was a summary sent out to everybody.
Do you want me to just?
Sure.
The highlights? Okay, so the highlights, well, the main highlight to the change was in the prior version of this, we just had in the personnel file that the workers would be there during working hours. That was never really specified for each position, which is slightly different according to their job description. So the main change is each position is listed with their working hours from what they were through what they are now. All have been approved by each staff member. So I think we are good there. There was a minor change to the time and attendance records, which now goes to the administrative office and within a 48-hour time frame for notice on vacation, and a couple of changes, which I won't get into because it's a large table on just paid and unpaid time off policies. And that's it there.
Just cleaning up a few things that we found throughout the
Right.
year, especially now that we're back to being in the office on a regular basis.
And it being open to the public.
Do I have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Very good, thank you. And even though she's not here, we thank Administrator Mooney for
She did
taking the
great.
time to go through this, and meeting with each of the township employees to review. We always have, just so residents know too, we host at least one staff meeting every month. It's usually the Wednesday after our last meeting. This month, it's the last Wednesday of the month because of a conference conflict for some of our staff members. But we'll be going over this with the staff too in detail. We spoke to them in consult to create it, and then we'll go back over it now it's approved. Can I have a motion to adopt resolution 2022-76, hiring full-time DPW planner?
Make the motion about that resolution.
All in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to pay all bills in the amount of $2,087,191.58. Of that, $1,305,320 is going to our local Bethlehem Township Board of Education, and $600,193 is going to North Humphrey and Voorhees Regional High School District.
Make the motion to pay the bills as read.
Roll call vote, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Randolph,
Yes.
Mueller.
Yes. Report, Ms. Blanchard.
A few things to report, as was adopted before the resolution. For Song Road, plans been approved by DOT, local aid. Ironically, because we access a state highway, we also have to get a highway opening permit for the project that DOT had provided funding for. So now we're waiting for our road opening permit so we can do the work on for Song Road. And of course, the funding from DOT doesn't pay for the application.
We still thank the DOT for the support.
Yeah, it was a modest application fee. Iron Bridge Road, section 2, we had a pre-construction meeting with the contractor last week, so he's all set. Carl still has some drainage that needs to be done on Iron Bridge to prepare for the paving operation, but once he's done having the pre-construction meeting in the books, it's a phone call and getting it scheduled. So we're good there. Mr. Brodnick and I have a conference call or Zoom meeting tomorrow with regards to the status of Tier A, Tier B, and DEP. And also earlier this week, Mr. Lindsay, Ms. Nelson and I had a Zoom meeting and we went over the flood damage prevention ordinance that DEP is also mandating. It's not as heavy of a lift as the Tier A, Tier B, but there were some things, we had some conversations about it. I think our next step is on a draft. It'll be redlined, and then we'll talk about it again, and it'll be presented to the committee at some point for discussion.
Do you want to just outline, since we have a tight time frame, as to what needs to happen?
Sure. So DEP in their infinite wisdom rolled this out at this time of the year. So we have, they actually said that their deadline to get it into them, because they have to review it before we can introduce it, is November 18th. Well, that means, adopting this in 2022 is not going to happen, because you can't introduce it one year, adopt it in the next. If we get it in much earlier, we might still be able to make that happen. But the last one I did for this in Middlesex County, DEP took a month and a half before they got back to their comments. So best case, they're going to get their response by the end of this year back to us. But from a timing standpoint, we have to, deadline to adopt it is February 15th. So it would have to be introduced at your reorg meeting, then before the planning board at their reorg meeting, so that you can adopt it at, for second reading at your first meeting in February to make February 15th deadline. So they really kind of backed everybody into a corner. I've let them know this. I would expect hopefully that they'll grant some kind of extension, but that's the timing. So that's why we're trying.
And anticipated introducing it at reorg, which is unusual.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we have to, we'll do that. Mr. Spencer, about that.
No, that's what I have to report. If there's any questions.
No, I should send, and I apologize, your meeting tomorrow. but I chaired the League of Municipalities as a working committee on the Tier A, Tier B. They had about a 50-page document with different highlights based on it. So if you haven't, maybe you've seen it already. Okay, so I'll forward that both to you even before I leave here. If the Wi-Fi cooperates, I'll do it. If not, I'll do it from home when I get home. And then I know the Conference of Mayors had a meeting this morning. They're similar. They were using the league guidelines.
Yeah, we did get a letter last week acknowledging that we had a timely appeal for our request for the adjudicatory hearing, and we're waiting.
Yeah, I think it's under review. That's how it is. And I can tell you the other towns got the same letter at the same time.
Yeah, and speaking to some other mayors of similar towns, 100 in Warren County that are affected by this in the same way. Any questions for Mr. Decker? Thank you. I always stick around just in case. Okay. I don't think we'll go too long. A report of public safety officials. I don't see any in the audience. I don't see any online on it. So the report. There's no old business. Under new business, this is discussion. More of a formality. It says what really done in the past, but I want our committee to all be involved and I want residents to know what we work on. So it's general motion to open discussion on job descriptions or updated job descriptions for a violations clerk and a land use reporting secretary.
I'll make a motion, open up the discussion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So in your package, there are two job descriptions, a violations clerk for our court and a land use reporting secretary. I'm going to start with the land use reporting secretary. It's the easier one. Sometime I don't actually remember whether it's 2020 or 21. The land use reporting secretary had the DPW secretary job duties added to that job description. So this amends that, takes those duties away. Those duties are now in the office of the administrator. And we wanted to return the land use reporting secretary simply to the land use reporting secretary. So that's the only change there. The violations clerk, we realized there was not, I'm going to say there wasn't a job description. So we were reviewing court operations this year and from our side, so that we're responsible for the human resources side of the court. And Ms. Nelson and our administrators spent quite a bit of time researching violations clerk job description since we didn't have one in-house. Then we went back to our staff, our court administrator and our violations clerk to review what the job duties are. I don't know if Ms. Nelson, you want to add anything to the process?
Well, it's a difficult thing to add because it has to be approved basically by the court. We don't, like you said, we don't really dictate as to their day-to-day duties. We kind of dictate their HR responsibilities when they come in, their lunches, dress code, things like that. So we did go through this. We did pull research from other townships as to what those townships were. We also reviewed hourly wage rates and all of that. And after a period of a few weeks, kind of came to a consensus, and everybody, I think, did a really good job in agreeing on this job description.
Any questions about the job descriptions? Being none, I have a motion to accept.
The motion accepted.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion closed discussion.
The motion to close discussion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Nelson, again, this morning is not here, but spent quite a bit of time, and thank you to our court staff for working with us to make sure that we had the proper description and that we all had a better understanding of what they do and provide the best performance that we can. Part of this came back to is that we in the past had performance evaluations, so it's tough to actually evaluate performance. We don't know what the actual job description is, so this will help us as we go through that process too. Report of zoning official, I believe was emailed to us. Report of animal control was also emailed. A report of township attorney.
Okay, a couple of things. Since I wasn't here last meeting, just wanted to discuss ADS. We did get a favorable decision from the appellate division. They ruled that the trial court exceeded their authority and abused their discretion in considering some of the arguments that were raised. And if you recall, Judge O'Neill, sitting in Hunter County, determined that the matter should be remanded Now, we expect the court to do the same thing, to remand. I mean, technically, the judge could have a trial on the record again and then make a decision. But if history is any guide, we expect a remand back to the land use board to, discuss some of the discrete issues that the appellate division and the judge, really instructed the land use board to focus in on, respect the abandonment, the pre-existing non-conforming uses. So we are meeting with Judge O'Neill. We're supposed to meet today, but he adjourned it at the last minute to October 12th at 3:30. There's also some pending municipal court violations for some apparent drunken operations that's being handled by the municipal court. Still getting some communications from Mr. Gronchowitz's attorney regarding that the vacation of the right of way. If you recall, back when that subdivision was put in, the township was granted a right of way to that rear field that was never constructed. Mr. Gronchowitz wants to use that right of way for farm equipment. So the township, if they want to act on it, they don't have to act on it. They can sell that, they can vacate it. If they vacate it or sell it, have to go up to either auction, with the first opportunity being the adjacent property owners, or you can grant a license agreement, as I indicated, and we have to look at the scope of that agreement, perhaps allowing the abutting property owners to have right to use that access easement since they're adjacent to that property. There was a driver injured after striking a large boulder, causing a serious injury on Route 78. Insurance carrier for the township has denied that claim. We expect that to be handled. It's not our jurisdiction. It's not our. So that's all I have for.
Any questions? Mr. Roberts?
Just for the public, I know they always have an interest in this, that October, was that the 12th or 13th, is not open to the public, correct?
Nope, it's not open to the public. It's just going to be with the attorneys. Kaczynski, myself, is the attorney for the ADS.
Yes.
Actually, one request, now you're back, you can touch base with our tax collector about some of the foreclosures. I know you reached out, so he's got a little bit of a lull, so that, we can get the.
Yeah, I had suggested maybe Tom take a quick look at the properties that we could potentially file and rent tax foreclosure on. Some of them are really small, so I'm not sure they're developable, but they could be open space, so we can.
I think there's some opportunity. I hadn't realized, probably right before I came on the committee in 2011, Mr. Jimenez was looking at this along with Mr. Glazer. And so they've come in and spoken to the tax collector. So they actually went out and toured some of these properties. Some have interesting features that we may or may not want, but they're still valuable to somebody else. And the small properties, I think a couple of people already stepped forward that they just would like to have them and then put them with their property because they're adjacent to it and just add a little merge with their lots. But there's a great opportunity there for the town to have some financial benefit.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Board of Health and Safety Coordinator, Mr. Lindsay.
Received an email yesterday from the state, one of our final Hurricane Ida budget approved for roughly 10,000. I don't know the exact amount. Judy, I sent you the email with that as well. I don't have my phone with email, so I haven't checked the agenda to see if we actually received the money, but it has been approved by FEMA going back to us. As of right now, there are funds sitting there for Category Z returns, which basically we would have to sit down, myself, Judy, Carl, Jen, and kind of calculate every email, phone call, meeting. It's very intricate when you want to list down in a spreadsheet.
Oh, not fun.
Unfortunately, I've talked to several other towns that go through it. You're not required for it. And they just realize it's just not worth the money. The minimum amount of money getting back for doing that compared to the amount of work it costs to go into it, maybe $1,000 that we get back. So something we're gonna walk and discuss further.
There's no time frame like there was on some of the other.
So the money is there. The money is,
Right.
the FEMA sent a big chunk of money to the state, said, hey, your towns want to do this, here's the money. So there's no time frame to, we can do this in 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, whatever else further down. It's just a matter of trying to go back and sit down with everyone. And so they gave you this spreadsheet, they gave us all the information to look for. We just kind of fill that out. Also, there was a inspection done by the insurance company, 13th of the DPW yard and the Heritage Park. I was not there, but Carl, you were there, right? I see him on there. Does he hear me?
Yes.
Do you want to give an update on that at all, of how that went? Or
We did. The municipal garage was okay. We had two small things on down the parks, which one was a tire swing. Was all, looked like it was dry rotted. But since it wasn't over 5 years, I talked to the salesman and he thinks he can get us a new tire for warranty.
Very good. So everything else appears to have gone well, then, right?
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you, Carl.
You're welcome.
That's pretty much it for me right now.
Any questions from Mr. Lindsay? Okay. Report of Finance Coordinator, Ms. Nelson?
Okay, so just letting everyone know for our latest quarter, we are currently at 97% collection on our taxes, hoping to be at 98% by next week with about 100K outstanding. And that's the biggest one that I have in terms of the.
Questions for Ms. Nelson? Report of Land Use Coordinator, Ms. Nelson again?
Okay, so there's a couple of ordinances that were discussed at Monday night's meeting, the omnipresent tree ordinance. We did discuss Suzanne Wilder. She is not on tonight from what I can tell. All of her comments, most of which, her comments were basically what she had re-forwarded to us was from 2019. So most of it had already been addressed. There were a couple of things that we're going to incorporate, but other than that, I think most of what she suggested versus what the land use board had discussed over the last few years has already been updated and incorporated into the latest version. I think that then that last draft then goes to back to Kara to be incorporated. Then they are sending it to us. I'm hoping by our next meeting. I don't know if it's going to be this meeting or the last meeting in October. And then I think we can adopt it. That should be it on that. And then the parking ordinance, which we discussed here at the last meeting. They have started to discuss and incorporate their changes and updates. That ordinance really, it's an interesting one. It's on the books, but whether it was ever actually completely completed and adopted, there's some questions on. Most of it's blank. Most of the tables are blank, so we're going to take a look at that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Report of governing body members, Mr. Lindsay?
Nothing to report.
Good. Okay. Mr. Keith?
Me and Carl interviewed this new mechanic, and I was happy to say I was very pleased with him. So Carl got back to me and said that he accepted the job, and I'm happy with that. And let's see how it goes, and we'll hopefully get a great new mechanic. Paul, this is a question for you, but I already know the answer, hopefully. The extra funds or bills that are going to be coming from Community Day, how are we going to pay for those?
So we have $5,000 in a grant from the county, and then we have, I believe it's either 5,000 or 6,000 in our budget for Community Day.
That's separate fund we established probably about 3 or 4 years ago.
No, we've put it in the budget for many years. It's a line item in the budget.
What was that thing we established? What was it? Community or something like that? It was a separate
Yeah,
fund?
celebration community.
Celebration, yeah. Is that what we're going to use?
Yes.
Okay, I kind of knew that answer already.
Okay.
And one more thing now that rec is picking up and getting more members and everything like that, what's going on with their books as far as like they promised they were going to show us their books And that was about 2 years ago. What's going on with that?
So I think if they've caught up from all their filings, and I believe we're waiting for the state, as Decker shared about DEP, the state charities registration is about 6 months behind on review. So that's all we're waiting for. Everything else is in order and documented.
Alrighty, that's what I got.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think, if we're dividing it down, we were one of the recipients of one of the county grants, and so it was $5,000. I think that's going to pay for the fireworks first, and then there's about a balance of about $1,200 left for Community Day. And that'll come out of that celebration of events, and anything we don't use will go back into our surplus for next year. Mr. Randolph.
I'm good.
Ms. Dawson?
Okay, I have a few things. On the tech front, just wanted to know that we are working on integrating a new checks scanner with our bank. And the benefits of that is going to be that our checks will be deposited faster into the bank as it is a direct integration versus depositing it via paper check and armored car. And also it will minimize any return checks or any errors, which would then save the township money on fees. On the Highlands front, I did get an email from Judy Thornton kind of poking us in the side, saying, hey, we've got some grant money, which then leads me to, and this might be redundant from some people who are in the land use meeting on Monday night, the meeting with the environmental committee, which we had a great meeting with, which they came up with roughly 17 initiatives, some of which I have already discussed with Carl. They want a tour of the garage, which if we pass with inspection, I am sure will pass with the environmental commission with no issues. But also some things where there might be the grant opportunities that we've been looking for and reigniting with Highlands. And I'm looking at my list, and I think that should be it.
Thank you. I report to Township Administrator. I know left with you. I don't know if we've covered most of what's there.
Two things that were not covered on her update. The first one is she is continuing to work on getting copier machine quotes. As you know, and I know this is not the most exciting thing to talk about in the meeting, but it's what we do here. Ours is aging out, and she's looking to either. Hello.
Bob, could you mute yourself? Bob, please mute.
Bob's having a party. I wish I was there. Anyway, so she's still looking at getting quotes. I think we're gonna probably end up leasing, but she's continuing to look at that. As well as we got a quote, not a quote, an invoice in from our from MSI regarding $3,000 on-site visits, which I know we did not negotiate this year. So she is going to be disputing that and trying to save the township $3K there. And that was what was left on her update.
Thank you. Well, it's probably a good thing that the most exciting thing we have is a copy machine here, but I'm trying to keep it quiet.
I feel like I'm hungry.
The report of the mayor. So I'll start actually with the environmental commission. So yes, Ms. Nelson and I attended the environmental commission meeting last week. And I did, if those who follow social media, that was one of my Feel Good Friday was continue to look for environmental commission members. We have some great new members that are on there, and this is an amazing start to be that well organized and identify these. What I also like as a small municipality in Township is they're looking for partnerships with other organizations like Muscatine Water Association. It's a simple one. There's some others there on that list, but it's a great way to partner together with other organizations to better serve our residents. We also met with the rec booster planning for Community Day. And Mr. Keefe was there with me, Mr. Roth. So we're all set. Community Day is next Saturday, September 24th. Starts around 4 o'clock. There are a lot of fun activities for kids. And then there's a movie, there are fireworks. Thank you, Mr. Keefe. And a hot air tethered balloon ride. And we'll probably have the state police helicopter joining us. There's no other emergencies. And we'll have all of our rescue agencies also there. So please come on out. Have a good time. We haven't been together as a municipality in over 2 years, so come together at Heritage Park and enjoy. So speaking of Heritage Park, we had a small incident that thankfully was not very dramatic, but it was, we had this incident with a dog in the park, and there are signs, so I'm just gonna remind everybody, please leash your dogs in the park. And unfortunately, I will say, if you see dogs there that are unleashed, feel free to call the non-emergency state police line, because they should be leashed. We ordered more signs. I hate to keep adding signs, but we ordered more signs to put in the park, and we'll put a few on the hiking path also, because we've had some complaints about dogs along the river off leash too. So that is an enforceable law. And then the last summit scene, again, that I had shared with the state and voted on health benefits, and Mr. Lindsay had pushed, rightfully so, last meeting, we had approved a resolution in opposition to the increased health benefit cost to the state, local and county governments. Our local municipal rate went up 23% for health insurance. So I know organizations like the League of Municipalities are looking to dispute that. It was not a unanimous vote. It was a delayed vote. It was contentious once it was finally voted on. And the municipality also has the option of not participating in the state health insurance plan. So that may be an option that we'll look at next year. We want to make sure that our employees all have the best benefits that they can, but we also need to protect our taxpayer dollars. So we'll do everything we can to do that as well. Those are my updates. Are there any questions for me?
Just bracket on time frame for the community day, because a lot of people ask about when fireworks are.
Sure. So it starts at 4. There are a lot of kids' activities from 4 till about 7-ish, and then 7:30-ish is when it gets dark enough to show the movie. The movie should end around 9:30. Fireworks about 9:45. So these are all about, but we'll be within 15 minutes of those times. And fireworks, Steve, I don't know how long. I don't want to put you on the spot. The show will be, but I'm going to guess probably we'll wrap up and people start to leave around 10:30.
Yeah, I can usually get about 15, 20 minutes out of the fireworks, so.
And for, I know we have a fair amount of new residents or those who haven't attended yet. It's an amazing fireworks display, so I do want to share that. Mr. Keefe does an amazing job. It was also a really fun time just to get out. And it's a broad group, so there are obviously a lot of families, but it's a broad group of residents that are out there. So come on out and get to know your fellow residents. We're a rural community, so this is probably one of the easiest ways to get together and start to get to know who else is in your township.
Just a quick question, have we approved or if we need to, consumption of alcohol?
It is not officially allowed. No, that we're not going to allow.
Okay.
You are allowed, in the resolution that we passed, barbecues. So I know a lot of families in the past have come out and kind of tailgated, and so it has to be the fire marshal will be on site. So it has to be an approved fire container if you're doing that. So some sort of charcoal barbecue, or if it's a fire that you want, it has to be a fire pit. It's an approved fire pit. So you're welcome to do that, but it has to be an approved item. You can't have a chimney, can't have an open circle fire pit or anything like that. But a lot of people do tailgates, please take advantage of that. Two other things I will share too. So when I brought up Rec Booster, I also want to thank the Rec Booster. They attended the most recent Senior Citizen Club meeting, because one of the criticisms, including myself, of the Booster Club is that it was founded to support recreation for all residents of Bethlehem Township. And obviously it's easy to focus on our youth and youth sports programs, but they went out to that senior citizen meeting, and they're going to be working with our senior club to try to find more social activities and ways to integrate our Booster Club for all ages within Bethlehem Township. So I'm excited, and I thank our rec club for that. Yes, well, pickleball bocce, we're gonna figure out some ways to make better use. Is that a word, more better? We're gonna find ways to make better use of the bocce course. So two things we made a commitment to you on were updates on the ADS litigation, and the second one was on the Maderos litigation. So the most recent is the Township Insurance Company has assigned their own attorneys to that. And the most accurate thing they said is they're going into mediation in early autumn. So what early autumn means, I apologize if we don't know, but it should be pretty soon. And if we get any further updates, we will let you know on that. Motion for public comment.
Make a motion open public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public comment in the audience?
Hello, Troy Ennis.
Sir, can you state your address, please?
Yes, Troy Ennis, 491 Charlestown Road. And I was just curious why on the website, I can't view or see minutes from the 8-1 meeting, but yet the 8-18 meeting are there, Zoom, but 8-1 meeting is not there.
Yeah, we only had one meeting a month for July and August.
So you did not have a meeting on August 1?
We did not.
Okay. My next question would be, I guess my property is being discussed in executive meetings, and that's why we have no information about why I'm being prosecuted by my town for having an event on my property. Why is there no public comment or nothing in public view about why you're prosecuting me?
Well, we've not had any discussions in executive session about your property either. Our zoning officer took action. We asked our zoning officer not to be punitive and to work with people and residents because we're all neighbors. He had expressed to me that he had received no or little response to his questions, so he took the appropriate action of filing what he did in municipal court. And that there's a separation between the executive and judicial. So once it's there, we have no discussion, we have no control. I would be open to talking to you. I'm not sure what we can do at this point since it's in the municipal court, but we're always open to talking. And it's a good note. I'm not, any resident that's here, our mode of operation here in Bethlehem Township is that when our zoning officer goes out, he's instructed to find ways to find solutions and work with residents first. So I encourage residents to be as open to working with them as they can, because we'll work to find a solution. But if he doesn't get a proper response or is not responded to, then he follows whatever law is applicable.
So number one, I've never been contacted. I've never heard from the zoning officer. I've never received anything from the zoning officer. I have no communication with the zoning officer. I've only had an email that was sent from the township attorney to my wife's law office and claiming certain things that I completely disagree with, including his email of today. And there is no, who has complained? What is driving this? Who is pushing this? I have done nothing wrong. I use my property properly. I respect my neighbors. And why are you coming after me?
So we have residents file complaints. I'm aware of what your complaint is. I was actually away that weekend and I received multiple phone calls from residents asking what was going on while I was out of state. So I'm not personally familiar with what went on, but I do know that there were multiple residents who reported issues that the zoning officer had followed up on. He found it to be in violation. He did state that he called you. You told him that it was an educational event. So if you were calling our zoning officer a liar, please do that in public. And after that, there was no further response. So we asked our municipal attorney to reach out again, a second attempt, trying to work with you as best we could. And when that didn't work, then unfortunately we followed the next steps, which was the municipal court. Nobody's pushing this. We follow the laws that are laid out to us. Again,
Everything you just recited is incorrect. The first contact we had was through my wife, through her email. We responded appropriately. We had a very good discourse, and we were following the proper way of pursuing this. The zoning officer has never done anything that he has told you, so he's not telling you the truth. I've never received a phone call. I've never talked to him. I've never seen him, and he's never been here. The only thing he did that we have any record of, and we are documenting everything, is that he sent an email through a website to the event promoter that was on my property. Okay. And she didn't even see it until the following Tuesday, and she responded. And so that is the facts of what occurred. So I really don't understand what's driving this, because the zoning officer has nothing to do with it, because the response today, the attorney, township attorney, didn't cite one zoning offense. He is just going to my deed of restriction, and my deed of restriction on my property specifically states I can do recreational for-profit events as long as it does not affect the use of my farm, which it did not. So I have done no violation, and I don't want the town to spend ridiculous amounts of money and lose again to me, because I've done it twice already, because a couple vocal minorities try to push the train. And if you guys don't get that, you're just wasting our taxpayer money. Okay, so if you want to pay the attorneys, hey, I'm gunned up, I'm ready to go, and I'll go to the mat with you guys.
So that's kind of the attitude I guess we were faced with. When you come in here and saying you're gunned up with attorneys, when I just offered to talk to you.
You didn't offer anything.
I
You
just
just
said,
told me.
I just said I would be happy to sit and talk with you in public. It's here on the record, and you just came and said you're gunned up. What do you expect us to do?
That isn't the email that I got today.
Well, what did I
have
to
you
say
read
to
the
Have you
email
spoken
that-
to me? Have you spoken to me? And what did I just say to you?
Okay, fine. I'm up for it.
Very good.
Kirsten Ennis, 491 Charlestown Road. We never heard from the zoning officer, and we'd like to know who the complaints were, because it was a very quiet ride event with all women. There was no alcohol, there was no drugs. It was a very calm thing. So we're just very curious of who complained and how the zoning officer got involved, who has been, for lack of a better word, overzealous in enforcement of zoning things with regard to lighting, all kinds of things. Now, I don't think he even works on weekends. So I don't know how he would have even proposed to have tried to call us. He didn't come out to the property. We were there the whole weekend, and we would love to resolve it, but I'm not going to give away my rights to my property for nothing. So the email that I got from the attorney was, oh, you have to plead guilty and promise you'll never have another function at your house. And that's absurd. So that's what's upsetting to us, is that we're law-abiding citizens, we mind our own business, and, you know, with the whole noise ordinance thing years ago, and it's just, you know, one or two people that cause a ruckus, and it's not right. We're being prejudiced against because we're having fun.
I wish.
And, you know, you had an attorney, he's emailed me twice. I don't even know how he got my email. I haven't even gotten a letter in the mail, nothing. So you guys are saying that we're on notice, and we haven't even been on notice.
I find it hard to believe unless my entire staff is lying to me about this. Like I said, the zoning officer knew about it, we had multiple complaints, I was out of state. The request was to close it down. I will say, I'm a big motorsports guy myself, everybody knows that. So I said, the request was that the state police come and close it down. I said, no, finish the event out. Give notice that we need to discuss this, that there could be violations. That's what we did. And we received no response. We took the actions that we did. So I'm not sure what our
No
steps
contact.
are.
We had absolutely no contact that whole weekend from any municipality, no zoning officer, no police, nothing.
I requested the police not go over there and let
I
you
would
finish
have
your
tried
event.
the police because they're reasonable.
So
I just wanted to, kind of correct some things of the record. And I got your practicing attorney, so I got your name from the lawyers from that.
Okay, but why didn't you mail a letter to my house?
Well,
mean, this
we
is
wanted
like-
to just have a discussion before.
Yeah, the email
So
was
let me
discussion. It
finish.
was,
So let me
you're gonna
finish.
do this, or I'm gonna do this.
No, let me finish.
Okay.
Bethlehem Township paid $607,000 for open space.
Mhm.
And as part of that transaction, which occurred on April 5th of 2001, both parties executed a deed of easement. And the deed of easement,
I read it, I know what it says.
okay, hold on. So the deed of easement requires that the premises be only used for agricultural purposes. And they define agricultural purposes. You are having motocross events with food trucks and cars. That's prohibited
But
by the
that's
deed of easement.
incorrect. There's more to it than the deed of easement, okay? There's zoning and the deed of easement, and so.
The
if you
zoning
read
violations.
both, it says that we're entitled to have a function, a recreational function for profit with less than 2,000 people.
That's incorrect. So
Okay,
section
well,
nine.
okay.
All right, well, Kirsten, we're done. Kirsten, we're done. We're done. Okay, let's go to work.
All right, all right.
So I've made the offer to talk to you. That's up to you.
I would love to talk to you.
We can talk after the meeting, set the time.
Okay, that'd be great.
Any further public comment? Mr. Berger?
Peter Berger, 134 Blackbrook Road. I learned something at the most recent planning board meeting, and that is something I've been concerned about, we've been talking about. That is that Mr. Mullen gets forewarning before forest harvest. I didn't know that. I think it's great, because my only concern is that the preservation people get a little heads up before a harvest to possibly approach the owner for preservation, saving the forest instead of harvesting. So if that's true, that Mr. Mullen gets a heads up, then all it would take is a memo from the committee to Mr. Mullen to please warn the preservation people, or please alert the preservation people prior to harvesting. So we don't have to chase these people while the chainsaws are running and possibly save some nice forest in Bethlehem Township. I mean, you're the mayor, is that how it is?
I would say, I'll admit, I'm learning this now too. I did not know that Mr. Mullen got notice, so if he
Yeah,
does.
it was brought up at the last meeting. I think what we might need to clear this up and to get some real straight answers. I don't know how we can pull this off, but maybe have Mr. Mullen join us.
I think it'd be worthwhile, because.
I think it would be very worthwhile to have Mr. Mullen himself, because there's a lot of what was said at the planning board and some of the members there who said exactly what Mr. Berger is saying. Versus, and I do believe the discussion went along even a little bit further, Mr. Berger, like, was it appropriate for Mr. Mullen to proactively contact a preservation or some type of activist group?
Well, so
I don't know if that's protocol.
Yeah, so I think there's multiple steps here. 'Cause
Correct.
I don't know if he actually does get that, because I don't know what mechanism to cause the property owner to tell him, because we don't have any of that within our zoning. But we did have a discussion, and I am open to it, I think it's a great idea, to have people do that, and if we say that this is the process, that you need to report to the township, and this will be given to our open space committee, then I have no issues with it, and we'll have to check with legal, but I don't think there's any legal issues as long as it's known in public. So we'll confirm whether he does or doesn't, and if he does, then we'll take the appropriate steps to make it legal for him to share that information.
Right,
I don't know any mechanism that.
it wasn't necessarily a legality, although Mr. Ogrodnik, your name, I think, was brought up. I'd have to go back and listen to the meeting specifically. I think it was more of a procedural thing as to what do you say to, do you contact a public activist preservation group?
No, it would be.
Behind the scenes
No, it
versus
would
in
be
a
our
public
open
meeting.
space. Our open space
Right.
committee is commissioned
So-
by our elected officials.
Right,
They have the right to reach out.
Right, well, it was brought up, I think, in the environmental meeting the other night too. So I think Mr. Mullen needs to clear up some of these issues. And I'd like that to happen in front of the public.
Very good.
Yep,
That
I
would
think
make it
that, wouldn't that be the best
That would make
solution?
it so simple,
Right,
just a simple linkage, and maybe we can save some trees.
I'm with you.
Did I get it correct earlier? You said that, once a municipal complaint is filed about land use, it's out of your hands? You just said
No, so once it gets into municipal court, it's out of our hands.
a land use complaint.
Once a land use complaint gets risen to the point where a summons is issued in the municipal court, it then becomes, it's land use, we've had dog violations too. Once it gets to municipal court, there's a separation of judicial and executive in our country. And it trickles down.
Very good,
It trickles down to local.
excellent. One other thing, when the ADS thing is kicked back to the planning board, can the public be involved in that again? Is it,
Yes, the public should be involved to cross-examine each of the witnesses on both sides, as well as a public comment period at the end of the application for general comments.
so it's just gonna be one meeting, is that what you're?
No, each witness, the public has a right to cross-examine each witness.
Wow, very good. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment? Motion to close public comment?
Motion to close public comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 There is no executive session. Now a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Very good meeting.